Okay. I want to come there in a minute, but what are the good things that have happened to you through being involved in InterVarsity? And then we're going to talk about where you're headed. Did it have to do with your growth experience as well as your classes?
Yes. So when I first discovered InterVarsity, I found a community of people who took Scripture seriously and weren't content with easy answers about Jesus. I've grown up in the church. I came into college knowing a lot of right answers about the Bible, but this community challenged me to actually look at what Jesus says and who Jesus actually is. And from that, it provided a framework for justice and seeing how Jesus, he takes people from the margins of society and places them in the center. He cares for the people that society overlooks. So seeing that in Jesus' heart has transformed me and led into what I want to do after college and my major.
Well, that's very good news. Now, Brandy talked about her background. What was your church background before you got involved with InterVarsity? Because they apparently read Scripture a little differently.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small white Baptist church in Eugene that didn't have any kind of awareness of social justice issues or engagement with the community. And we never talked about race. So that was something that was new to me coming to InterVarsity, that we could actually engage in this discussion. In a Christian setting was new to me. Okay.
And tell me how that is shaping now your ideas as a young millennial headed to graduate. When do you graduate?
So I'll graduate in 2017. I'm doing 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not far away.
Yeah.
So how does that affect your plans for life after the U?
So this last December, I got to go to Urbana's Student Missions Conference, which is put on by InterVarsity. And there I did a lot of prayer and discernment around where does God want me to go after college? Where what direction should I go in? And I really just felt his reoccurring call to people who are marginalized by society and racial justice issues. And at Urbana, I was able to talk to an organization called Servant Partners that does community organizing and church planting overseas and domestically. And something that drew me to that organization was their commitment to Jesus and Scripture and church planting, but also to engagement with the community, to learn from local leaders, to community organizing around just justice issues, and also that they really want to train young people in their internships. They want to invest in them so they don't burn out, so that they can be in ministry for 30 plus years and have sustainable spiritual practices. And that's something I see a lot of people in my generation are really excited about, changing the world, but it's so easy to get burned out and not have the energy or the power that comes from Jesus to do that. So that's what I'm looking into after college.
Okay. And so you're in touch with them right now. And if I'm not mistaken, Servant Partners also live in communities that are poorer economically and often at the lifestyle level. And that's unusual because us white folks, when we go as missionaries, we generally live in separate communities and even compounds. I worked in Haiti, and the American missionaries had their own separate suburban compound. It looked like it was right out of the U.S., and the Haitians, took care of their gardens and took care of the kids. But they really didn't get to know the people they were working with often. And so Servants is a great place because it's one of 3 or 4 organizations now where it's with the people instead of to the people. And we just talked to Marissa about leadership and your interest in leadership role. What are you thinking of out of your training? How do you plan to use your training with Servants or wherever you go?
So I'm really interested in community organizing. So I see myself in leadership in that way, just mobilizing people and
Okay. Well, mobilizing is important. One of the challenges that I want to ask you about, last question, do you see people coming out of your InterVarsity group at the University of Oregon facing some economic challenges as they launch their lives in terms of school debt, in terms of cost of housing and stuff like that? Is that something that you see some of your classmates facing as they graduate?
Yeah, so I have one friend who's in California now and having trouble with that. She thankfully had like a relative that she's been living with while she's been working, but just the cost of living in California is so expensive that has been like a hard thing for her, yeah.
And do you know anybody that has school debt?
Yes.
Okay.
I think everyone does.
Yeah, it's a growing concern. I wish I'd ask all three of you about this, but I'm so concerned because I think a lot of college professors assume it's going to be the same dance as when they graduated, but it's so much more expensive now. The average student debt is over $35,000, and for many it's up to $60,000, $70,000 for a BA degree, and then the cost of rental and housing. What is your friend doing to try to deal with her challenges of life costs getting started?
Well, it's nice for her. She has connections with different relatives that she's been able to live with. So I think that's been really helpful for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
My wife and I live in an intergenerational household, and so we're trying to get people to think about going back to the way that we've always lived for centuries until World War II when we had age-segregated housing. And so we need to find new ways to increase community, reduce costs. And what's the one thing you're most looking forward to as you start to work with servants?
I think I'm really excited about the community, just being supported and having a team of people who have a similar vision. And just that supportive community has been so transformative for me in the past. So
there you go. Well, God's blessing on you, vaya con Dios, and have a wonderful launch. 2017 isn't that far away. Congratulations, you're getting close.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome.